Okay, good morning. Thank you everybody for coming this morning. For those of you, I know some will probably join us a little bit later online. Wanted to take a bit of an opportunity, one, to meet you all in person and get to know you a little bit better. I know there's an election tomorrow for the Victoria Real Estate Board. We've had a lot of sort of conversation in the office around the election upcoming, and I wanted to invite you guys out, give you an opportunity to tell us a little bit more about yourselves. Tell us about your thoughts and what your ideas and what your expectations are as far as being a director at the Victoria Real Estate Board. So we have 2 of you online and we have 6 here, so 8 total. I think we're missing a couple. But why don't we start off, then maybe we'll start right next to me and we'll put you on it again first.
Nice. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having us here. And I'm Cash Burley. I've been a realtor for 10 years, almost 11. I have a background in business as well as in healthcare. And I'm just really passionate about our industry and ultimately would love the opportunity to give back. So I've volunteered on the community relations as well as the professional development committee over the past few years, and also other board events whenever given the opportunity. I find like our industry is so unique, and even through this whole process, I love the camaraderie that, you know, just getting texts and phone calls, and ultimately my passion is just to give back to the industry that's given so much to me over the last 10 years. So I'm committed to putting in like the time and the effort and the work that it's going to take for the next director role, and what we are in changing times with the BCMSA, with CREA, with Realtor.ca, and also I believe in transparency, great communication, you know, amongst our board members, and also to create like an environment where we can share ideas and concerns and, you know, address those concerns. I'm also a firm believer of education, personally and professionally. I think we always benefit from learning and then creating different avenues. You know, how is the best way that people learn through webinars, through networking events, or classes. And so tomorrow's the big day, or one of the big days, next few days, and there's 5 positions, and I would love it if I would get one of those seats. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions I'm going to ask you guys in general, but let's go through some introductions first. Or continue through the introductions first, and then we'll get to those questions. So do we want to keep on down the line? Sure. Yeah. We've got Zoom recording, so okay, we're going to share it obviously amongst the office and with everybody prior to coming. So a little introduction, then tell everybody about yourself a little bit and what brought you to the board.
Sure. First time with for Realty, and I've been director for the last 2 years. It's a lot. I learned a great deal about how it actually works around the director's table. And I think there's value in that for the board. And I say to people, based on some of the things I've learned from other people that have done this, is that you know, people think what's the most important thing the board does. The most important thing the board does is survive and stay strong, and is able to adapt to all the things that come our way. And things that come our way are debated amongst all the people that are around the table.
Ron, you're feeling the beat.
What's going on?
And cut.
But
That was all
There's a fundraiser for his hair right now, I believe.
There you go.
Yeah, so I just think that there's value in having people that have you know, so experienced not only in real estate, we do this for 25 years, and people that have been around the table. And I said another talks that we have like this, you know, we financially, regulatory, and even from an existential perspective, we have challenges that are facing organized real estate. And the most important thing is that the people here in Victoria, the organizations can stand up for them and are up on the board, that situation is always evolving, and the way that we're synchronized with them, that's a very important ongoing thing that we continue to work on. And so I'd like to go back for another 2 years to be treasurer. So, thank you.
Yeah.
I know most of you. So just a little bit about myself. I'm 17 years, in my 17th year of the business. I moved to Victoria about 1.5 years ago. I sit on the Government Relations Committee at VREB, and I also sit on the Governance and Bylaw Committee at CREA. Of the 17 years, I've spent 12 in organized real estate. I'm the past president of my previous local board, as well as the past chair for the Provincial Association, which I chaired for 2 years. I think one of the most important things about sitting around that table is actually increasing the professionalism of the industry. And we do that through education, advocating to regulatory environments. It's really important to make sure that, in our case, often it's government, that they know that we're a stakeholder and they're engaging with us prior to making decisions. We've all felt in the last couple of years massive amounts of regulatory changes without a lot of stakeholder engagement. And it's really important that they engage us before they're making those decisions. So education, regulatory environment, really sitting around that table, digging in, doing the work on behalf of the members so that everybody else can just go out and sell real estate, and disseminating that information and making sure that we all know, where the membership wants us to go and grow. So I would love your vote tomorrow up to 11 a.m. on Friday. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks, guys, for having that.
Let's see if Bev, are you available to make a little bit of introduction? We'll kind of jump on the Zoom here for a minute or two.
I sure am.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm so sorry I can't be there in person. I've had a crazy couple weeks. And I'd love to meet everybody that's around the table because I haven't seen you in person yet. Anyhow, so a little bit about me. I'm a mom of 3 grown kids, which is unbelievable. Over the years, I've had the privilege of serving our community in tons of different various governance roles. I spent 10 years as a municipal councillor with the District of Sault before diving into the wonderful world of real estate in 2019. So I'm still relatively new within the past 5 years. However, my past experiences have really opened my eyes to how important it is to have effective governance, not just for our industry, but for our community's well-being. I've seen firsthand how working together and making well-informed decisions while listening to diverse perspectives can have a positive impact, especially within our board, which is known for being forward-thinking and highly respected. If elected again, I'll continue to work really hard to keep professionalism in our industry. As others have said, it's not just a fancy word, it's about being ethical, transparent, and delivering top-notch service to our clients. We as real estate professionals are instrumental in helping people achieve homeownership, and I firmly believe that maintaining the highest standard of professionalism, we can continue to build trust in our industry. So thank you so much. And again, I'm sorry I can't be there, and I would love to have your vote, and I'd like to represent you again as director for the next 2 years. Thanks again.
In person or on Zoom, we appreciate you attending. Let's carry on down the line.
All right. Good morning, Team Generation. Nice to see some familiar faces here. For those that don't know, you haven't had a chance to meet. My name is Dirk Vanderwall. I have also been a director for the last 2 years. I'm going into about my 10th year in real estate. I've been a managing broker over at Newport for the last 3 years. So really love our industry. This started for me as wanting to give back, and I guess I haven't finished wanting to give back because I'm running for a second term. It's been amazing, as some of my colleagues mentioned, being around that table, being in the room, tackling challenges and things that come up as a group, making sure that our organization is healthy, that we're in a sound financial position. And then the biggest thing is just doing everything in the best interest of our members. And so, like I said, I would love to continue to do that. That's our job as directors, is tackling those top issues, answering those questions when they come up, being on our toes, and like I said, working for the members. And then as members, your job is to think about who do we want in that position. When a challenge comes up, who do we want answering the question? People who have the skills, the background, people who have the kind of integrity and leadership qualities that we want to see. And those are the people I hope you vote for, whoever that is. I would love if it was me. I try to uphold those values every day I'm out there in business. I know you guys do as well. And so if that kind of echoes for you, I would love to ask for your vote. if elected, I'm definitely gonna wanna continue the board's good work. I mean, we're best in class already in so many ways, but continuing to advocate for the best technological, regulatory environment. And also really I have a strong interest in kind of fostering a sense of community on the board, because that's been the best part for me, is getting to know a lot more people in our industry, getting connected through a lot more brokerages, getting connected through committee work. And so really having all of our members have a sense of belonging. We've got a great opportunity in Victoria. We have a small geographical area. We have a small enough number of members that it's really possible for us to network and feel a sense of belonging. So that's something I'd like to continue to build if elected. So tomorrow morning or in the next couple of days, I hope to get you a chance to vote. You don't have to put your pants on, get to the computer, click on there. Thank you.
Good information.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Jackie Nye. I'm also seeking for re-election. I am a longtime Victoria resident. I've been in this industry for almost 20 years. Enjoy it and believe in giving back to the community and to the organization that I have benefited greatly on. I am one voice on the board, and I always keep that in mind, that whatever I'm doing for the 1,600 members. And some of the things that guide me in making decisions includes, you know, fiscal responsibility, make sure we are forward thinking, make sure that our decisions are timely and relevant for all of our members. There are so many issues that are coming at us and they will not stop. And I kind of put them into kind of three broad categories. One of them is from the regulatory bodies. Another one is our technology or tools. And perhaps the third one is what our industry might look like in 3, 5, 7 years. And we always need to keep an eye on that. So my job is to make sure that whenever decision we're making it relevant and for benefit of our industry, organized industry, and for our members. So I hope to get one of your votes. My name is Jackie Nye. Thank you for the opportunity.
Jackie.
Should we jump back online? Mark, are you ready to give it a go?
Ready to go.
Take it away.
Hello, Next Generation. My name is Mark McDougall. Thanks for having me here. Hello, candidates back there.
Hi, Mark.
Hello. So yeah, a bit about me. I was licensed in 1990. I was a managing broker for most of the late 90s. I've served on the MLS committee, professional standards, and government relations. Been fortunate enough to be recognized as a gold award winner for about 20 years. Born and raised in Victoria. Raised 3 kids in this fabulous city we have. And love Victoria, always have. So as far as the board is concerned, I don't really have any agenda. It's a great board. What we have is something we should be proud of, and something that I'm very proud of. I'm proud to be a member of. So it's more about maintaining, improving, keeping our eyes open for future concerns coming down the pipeline. If anything, I'd want to lean on professionalism, improving, maintaining professionalism of our membership, and communication from the board to the members. And that's about it for what I have to bring to as far as a direction. But what I am able to bring is a lifetime, like born and raised in Victoria. I've got tons of connections in the city and a life, like 30+ years of being in real estate. So I've got lots of experience from which to draw on. And I look forward to it, to being a part of the directors if I'm lucky to get your vote and be elected. So that's about it from me. What else have I got here on my notes here? Any questions?
Get to those in a couple of minutes, Mark. Thanks for your
Perfect. Thanks for your time, guys.
All right, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. My name is Mike Giordano. I've been a proud member of the Victoria State Board for 8 years, licensed agent. and really excited about the opportunity to give back a bit more to our board. For the past 6 years that I've been eligible to give back to the board of the committees, I've volunteered and so I've sat on 4 of those committees, and I think there's a really great opportunity there to make a contribution on a granular level to our members. So you may know that when you're a director, you have the opportunity to chair a board, and that's something that really excites me, that contribution at a granular level. Of course, big picture, organized real estate, that's a wonderful opportunity for us as directors to be looking at current trends, forward thinking, making sure we're understanding how our consumers want to consume real estate today. You know, that's really big. Giving back, like Cass said, I think is why we're all with it. You know, it's an opportunity for us to put our hand up and be a leader in our industry. And I'll give you a couple of examples of how it's important to me right now in my current life as a dad. I'm a member of others for my kids' pack. You know, it's a big commitment to be there. You need to really know what's going on. Where I live, I love. Okay, Curve Bay is amazing, and I've been a director of planning for the Curve Bay Area Community Association for the past 5 years. So given this opportunity, I'm just going to feel immense gratitude for the opportunity, and I'm sure I'll be that friendly voice and friendly face that can call and ask any questions. So really hope that you show up and vote this week. You can see a bunch of names that resonate with you. One of them might go down. I really appreciate that.
Thanks.
Want to close it out?
Here we go. Thank you, everybody, candidates, Next Generation audience. It's a privilege to be here, and it's a privilege to be with these candidates as well. My background is in food service. I have a red seal as a dirty person. Worked in the food service industry for over 15 years, and I had, man, such an incredibly successful and fulfilling career. I was passionate about that, and I transitioned into real estate with the same passion in 2012. I was really fortunate to link up with some really key people, and I got involved in what I really wanted to pursue, and that was new development and new construction here in Victoria. And since then, for the past like 10 plus years, I've been specializing in that process and working with my developer clients and helping them streamline their process to deliver the consumer experience to the realtor community. And that's been the big thing that I have taken out of this, like past 10 years working in development, is an increased interaction with our realtor community has increased my capacity and taught me so many things. There's people inside of this room that I worked with over the years that have contributed to my success, and you know, to carry on the same sort of idea, it's my turn to give back to those people who have helped elevate my career in the industry here. So I think one thing we overlook sometimes because it's so good doing real estate in Victoria is, why is that? And it's because of groups of people like ourselves who are contributing to our real estate board and like holding these really high professional standards and advancing them. We have one of the best functioning boards probably in the entire world. And it's very easy for us to do real estate here because of this high functioning professional group. So big shoes to fill, obviously, but I think I'm up for the task, and continuing to carry this idea that I have been propagating with my development clients over these years is going, we must be empathetic to our realtor community. We need to support them to get their support. As director, I think it's really important to carry the same kind of theme, is communicating in a transparent and effective manner, reaching out on a regular frequency to understand what are the real challenges facing our board members. How do we know if we don't communicate with them on a grassroots level? And at the same time, it's really important for us to engage on that level with our regulatory authorities, our professional associations, and our members at large, so that we can have like a revolving door amount of information that's going around. So we really know what's going on. So having empathy for our clients and our members, upholding professional standards and having good communication is something that I really firmly believe in, something that I practice daily. And if I have the privilege of being elected to our directors, to the board, that's what I'm going to be focusing all my energy on, is learning and contributing in that manner, making sure that this information is disseminated in the most effective way so that we can continue to be as professional as we've been up to this point, and continue to improve upon that so that we can stay as an industry leader, and we can have a effective and positive impact on like the future legislation that is affecting our regulatory boards, and essentially the consumer. How are they receiving the real estate information? So this is your big chance, guys. Tomorrow, it's your turn to show up and vote. I don't even care if you vote for me. I just want you to vote for one of these incredible people. who, we're all privileged just to have this caliber of people stepping up to the plate and continuing the professional standards that we have at the real estate board. So thanks, Next Generation. I really appreciate the time.
I think we've got everybody as far as intros go, so I've got a question that's a bit of a two-part question, and perhaps we'll just kind of reverse the order and work our way back to the start. And so the question I have is, what do you see as one of the most key elements that the Victoria Real Estate Board really needs to pursue and continue to foster? And then two, what do you think is one of the biggest challenges that the Victoria Real Estate Board is facing at the moment?
Good question, Darren. I love that one. And I would say that definitely, in this experience recently, I sat down and met with some of the network groups around as well. And I think that that's something that is, I'm gonna be a little critical right now. And I think that it's a little bit lacking as far as the grassroots level. It's like having some real world feedback from the agents at large. I think Christy said there that it's like, she's going to represent our best interests so that we can go out and do real estate. It's very, very important. But at the same time, how do we capture that person, that realtor who's just so intently focused on their day-to-day? They've got their families to think about, their communities, their clients. They're not thinking about like, well, how am I going to talk to somebody in a position of authority to let them know what's going on? So I think that that's something that we need to focus on is getting inside of the issues at the brokerage level, but also at the agent level. So how does that agent who's out there on their own, how do they feel supported? How do they feel acknowledged? So I think that's something that we definitely have to explore a little bit. And then for issues for the board, regulatory authority, like we've been self-governed for a really long time, very effectively. And I'm with everybody here. I was like upset that they took such a heavy hand, but I'm not surprised. And we're not going to change that. What we need to do is adapt, and we need to make sure that we're upholding those professional standards. And I know we're kind of like regurgitating that all the time, but I think that that's the most important thing, is that if we can hold that standard to the highest level and keep on pushing it, we have no excuse in our dealings with the regulatory authority. We can go to them and say, hey, listen, we've been doing our part, and we expect some sort of communication as a stakeholder. And we can hold them accountable. I mean, obviously it's a tough task, but I think that's the biggest thing that we need to worry about is right now, this regulatory authority's trend is just heavy-handed legislation, and they're just punishing our professional boards in advance to make us behave appropriately. So I think that if we can be professional, we can hold that standard, and we can sort of reverse it a little bit. That's the biggest issue right now. It's just the regulatory authority is really, really like huge and scary sometimes.
Why do you repeat the question for me?
What do you feel is one of the key components or elements that the Victoria Real Estate Board needs to continue to foster and continue to grow? And then two, what do you think is one of the biggest challenges that the Victoria Real Estate Board is facing?
Sure. Thank you, Darren. I think focusing on education and training, highlighting and putting some attention to that, especially for our new agents. There's a lot of people joining our industry and our board. It's a great opportunity. It's a great profession. And the more that we understand the competency levels of newer agents and tenured agents having a higher impact on the reputation and integrity of our industry, the better. Everyone benefits from a newer agent being truly competent out of the gate. That's the two consumers involved in that real estate transaction and the other agent. Okay, so that's something I really think we want to be looking at a lot, is making sure that we know what's available to us as newer agents and being ready to go right out of the gate. Regulatory issues, BCFSA is going to be on top of mind for me for sure, with respect to our board, and making sure that our members know exactly what's new, what's coming down the pipe, and getting that done. Excellent, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think that our board could always do better in the communication. Be it that our communication to our memberships and our memberships communicating to the board as well. We do have the things to know, as you all get the email, and that's good. But I think that we can always improve on our communication from a board level to our membership, and the membership have an avenue to also communicate with us. That's the only way, because we are working for the members. What do I see as the challenge facing the board? Well, the continuous challenge will always be, and it's not gonna stop from our regulators. And the two way to look at it is, can we effect change? Can we be vocal and express our thoughts? Sometimes, for the lack of better words, these things, as much as we want to do, are kind of a foregone conclusion. And if they are so, how then does the board and our industry change and adapt to fit into this new mold that we are directed to do? So those are what I see as the challenges for the board, and that's not going to stop. And we're going to continue to be on top of it and make sure our members get this information in a timely manner. And how do we offer suggestions for our members to adapt if that's what's brought before us? Thank you.
Thank you. Mark, did you hear the question okay?
I did. Great. Good question, by the way. Professionalism is my biggest objective with the board. And I think we get there two ways. One is education and one is disciplinary. And I think education needs to be managing broker down to the licensees. We still there?
Yeah.
Good.
Sorry, I was just joshing people in the background.
Thank you. And then the disciplinary side, being on professional standards and seeing as many cases as we did, I thought that the managing brokers should be part of that procedure as well. Just so that, because there's so many of the cases that we see that could have been prevented at the education stage. And we didn't need to be in front of professional standards. So by having the managing brokers involved in the case, I think it's critical. It's something I'd like to probably bring up with the board if elected. That's about it.
Yeah, appreciate that. Bev, I see you're taking off. Did you want a final word before you jump off?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. It's terrible timing. I have an out-of-town buyer that showed up and I've got a full tour booked. So just again, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. I wrote quickly in the chat that I think collaboration is huge for our board. Collaborating with our members, collaborating with the Vancouver Island Board, collaborating with local governments, especially with new policies heading forward. And then I think our challenges are exactly that. It's dealing with the challenges that come down from BCFSA, dealing with the challenges that come down from Korea, and then getting everybody together and getting educated in how we can navigate those processes. So again, thank you so much. And I'm so sorry I've got to go. Thanks for the opportunity. And I would love to represent you guys again in the next 2 years. Bye.
Thanks, Beth.
Thanks, Ben. Thank you. Yeah, so just to build on what Mark said a little bit, as I'm chairing professional standards this year, which has been a really interesting assignment. Good news for you, Mark. We have actually amended our procedures, so we're doing a better job of looping managing brokers in when we are dealing with the file of PF now. So, we're always looking for ways to improve. And so, I guess the two-part question: challenges and opportunities. Challenges, I won't repeat what everybody said, but I think we all feel the elephant in the room is regulatory change, which is coming our way, whether we like it or not. But where does that come from? Why do we lose self-regulation? Like this goes back to, Mark made up the point of professionalism. Our industry is ours to lose, right? And so we look around every day. Another kind of big thing that we've talked about around the board recently is like, we've got an amazing ecosystem in the MLS. This is a Victoria story. Like if you don't know the history of MLS, it is fascinating where this came from and how it builds up. And it's not just a piece of software. It's not just a way to share listing data. I mean, it's an entire system, an ecosystem of cooperation that allows us all to do business the way that we do. We're really lucky to have that. And I think we need to guard it fiercely. When we look at Korea's cooperation policy that came into effect, and further moves that are happening there are areas in the country where the value of this is really being eroded by agents sort of working outside of it. So, one more thing that I think we can really do a better job of is upholding our profession, kind of girding ourselves against this regulatory change by taking advantage of the system and structure we already have in place at the board level, and then the provincial level, because there are provincial priorities happening right now, like collaboration we haven't seen before with all the boards in the province getting together to tackle big issues together. So that's some of the opportunities. again, on the challenge side, the opportunity side, like I said earlier, is we have a great opportunity in Victoria to kind of connect our members and create a sense of community. And I think, you know, Mike and Andrew both have this as well, which is a sense of communication, Jackie as well, kind of two-way communication, listening and speaking, having kind of a direct line between members and the board of directors and what the organization is doing. So much what we do is amazingly on autopilot. We've got great staff education's fantastic, you know, government relations, like we've got great stuff that's happening at the staff level. And so, you know, Mark's the same thing. A lot of what we're doing is kind of just maintaining what we're already doing is really good. But where that opportunity exists, like I said, is I see now that we're kind of post-COVID, there's a great opportunity right now to kind of build more of a community around our organization for everybody who's in it and support each other.
Awesome, thank you. Kristen?
I couldn't agree more. I think that real estate is local, but organized real estate is actually provincial and national. And I think that when we talk about your first question, what could we do better? It is collaboration. Because when we think about some of those regulatory issues that are our issues, they're actually province-wide. So we need to be working with the other local boards in our province to work together to have one strong voice to go. And that often happens through VREB. And then you take a look at national, and again, when you look at realtor.ca, you guys, there are people in the United States that live in a geographical area like ours that have to belong to 5 different boards to get all the information. So I couldn't agree more that protecting realtor.ca and our MLS system is incredibly important. When I think about the opportunities, so the potential ways that VREB could actually grow, it's really in making sure that you're constantly doing that SWOT analysis. So what are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What are our opportunities and what are our threats? And a lot of people, I think, fear that realtors are going to go away as technology comes. And I couldn't disagree more because it's a people business. And so it's our job at the board level and every single board across our country to keep making sure that realtors are relevant and they have the information so that we can have those touch points with our clients. And so I think that's probably the biggest threat in the industry is just making sure, kind of to echo Dirk, like really making sure that we protect that system that we have because it's a really fantastic system. And then making sure that that communication happens with our members. Right after that cooperation policy was put out by CREA, I happened to be in Quebec City and was having conversations. And it's just about the fact that people don't necessarily know the why behind it. And so I believe that as leaders, it's our incredible job to make sure that our members understand the why behind it, because often the work that's gone into making those decisions is really to benefit us on the bigger scale. So it's a massive undertaking, but I think it's incredibly important.
Thank you. A lot of great points. One of the things that's jumping out for me when we talk about what the board should be focusing in on is continuing to bring value to consumers. We have in our board, I think we're at 1,640 members right now. That's a huge number, and I don't know if it's ever been that high. A third of them have been in the business in Victoria less than 7 years, I believe it is. So, you know, for us, we need to continue to strive for professionalism amongst our members, because a lot of people, as was mentioned here, they don't really understand the idea of what our MLS system is, the cooperation, the tremendous benefits that allow them to, come into the business and find, wow, this is kind of easy. It's because of what's happened through MLS. So we need to continue to educate the members and make sure that they know that the value that is intrinsic in our own MLS system is huge. And that's going to project value to consumers. We're facing, as we talk about these regulatory changes, and we wake up in January and, we've got a bunch of new rules that we need to follow. Well, we can't just stamp our feet and say we're not going to do it. We have to respond as professionals and say, okay, well, let's take what's good in this. We're one of the few jurisdictions that doesn't allow dual agency anymore, right? And a lot of people don't understand that. They go to other parts of Canada. Well, why is that? And all these things affect what's going on with cooperation policy. So we need to continue to let our members know that there's a reason why a lot of these changes are happening and communicate with them. And what you said, that's one of the opportunities, and one of the big challenges is through that, we need to continually ask ourselves, well, what are we as an organization? What is the Victoria Real Estate Board? And we need to examine where we're going and make sure we're continuing on the path, as I mentioned earlier, be strong and, you know, without being dramatic, you know, viable and survive. That's the most important thing that we do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great answers. I echo all those sentiments. So what can I say different? I'm a firm believer, like I said in my little speech, of education, and I think it's educating members and as well as the public. So, you know, making sure that we're putting out the information, because at the end of the day, you know, when somebody says realtor in the general public, we're all painted by that same brush. So echoing the professional standards, that's huge, like upholding the professional standards for all of our members. And then I think some of the challenges is, regulation of the government. And I think in our local board, we do a fantastic job, but it's on the bigger scale of, you know, how can we bring more to the table on the provincial scale, because we are painted with the same brush. Why did all those regulations come into effect? It wasn't necessarily just because of like our local board, it was on the provincial and bigger scale. So whether we can have a bigger voice with that people.
I think, do we have any questions from anybody? No. Anybody not? Realtors. Any final thoughts? Anything you guys want to close out with? Mark, maybe online, do you have anything final you want to say as we all get back to work here shortly?
I have a question.
Oh, Andy, go ahead.
For all the candidates, I just want to say thanks for taking the time out to come today. It's excellent hearing your point of views, and I look forward to the big vote tomorrow. My question is to everybody, transparency in our profession and our duties to all parties involved with transactions in the public is becoming more top of mind these days. We know that transparency with multiple offers, the disclosure is now available for VREB realtors to use, which is great. I agree with it. It structures everything. How do you feel about the buyer's exclusive agency contract and talks about it possibly becoming a mandatory agreement between brokerages and potential clients, much like it is in Alberta? And would you advocate for it?
Yeah. So, and you probably are aware that buyer agency compensation is under attack in the courts, both in the US and back in Eastern Canada right now. There are big class action lawsuits that may ultimately change the way that we do business, right? Because we've gone, those who have been in the business for a long time, we kind of went from sub-agency to designated agency. And so the natural evolution of that may be buyers compensating their agents directly. There may be a split there, you know, that's what the lawsuits are about. Sellers don't want to be forced to pay the buyer's agent's compensation. And whether those suits are successful or not, whether they happen in Ontario and they come back here or not, this is part of the regulatory environment. And this is part of the conversation that's happening, you know, kind of as we speak outside of the room. And so we need a board of directors that's alive to those things and that is participating in those conversations and that's advocating for the best interest of our members. So you're correct, Alberta and other jurisdictions, they've made a buyer agency agreement mandatory. You know, as individual realtors, for us in BC, it's been a business decision so far if we want to do that or not. I'm sure we get paid, but you know, does it offer that much benefit to the consumer? If it's mandatory, I feel like personally, a lot of agents would really like to have that protection in place over their buyer relationships and, you know, over their compensation as well. And so, like I said, we've got members of our board who are participating in those conversations within BC at the moment. Personally, I don't think it would be a bad thing to bring on mandatory buyer agency. But, you know, that's why it's interesting. It's an individual business.
I'd jump in too, especially if you have any agents on the mainland. You know, a lot of buyers are shopping agents left, right, center. You know, the commitment that we make to our consumers and having that reciprocated back to us would be welcome. I think for me, you know, making sure that we know that those buyers are on board with working with us and the dedication and time that we're going to put into them. So buyers agency, making that mandatory would be welcome for me.
It's a big conversation.
It's an opportunity for industry at this point to decide how we want to do it rather than having it handed down by our regulator, which is where everybody kind of sees things ultimately landing. So.
Hi, Annie. As an Alberta person, the buyer agreements were in place from day one, like 17 years ago when I started. They became mandatory, I think maybe like 6 years after that. But you know, what's interesting about the mandatory is you can do exclusive or non-exclusive. So if you want to have a side conversation about that, I can. But one thing that I think is incredibly awesome about having those is when we've all talked about increasing the professionalism of the industry. When you have paperwork, think about when you sit down with your sellers and you sit down and you have a conversation about what they can expect through the process. And sometimes I think with buyers that gets lost. So the ability to sit down with your buyer clients and explain what they can expect, explain agency. You don't just show up and look at houses. It also helps realtor safety, which has been one of the things Mike's talked about. So the ability to sit down and have that conversation with a buyer is really actually us elevating our professionalism, in my opinion, because it actually makes every part of the transaction more transparent, just as you had said, Andy. So,
Can I jump in?
yeah.
Couldn't agree more with your thoughts. We use them with all our buyers. If they're mandatory, it would only increase our professionalism because it does give you that next level to educate the consumer. And I think they're a great way to go. So we use them all the time, and it's a great process. I couldn't agree more with you.
Thanks, Mark. Anybody else?
I'll chime in. So when I'm meeting a new buyer, I usually have that conversation. I don't necessarily do the form or anything. Here's our partly our prenup, but before we get married. No, I think it is a good idea. I have those conversations when I'm having, when I first meet with my clients and I'm onboarding them, asking them all the questions and showing your value. So I think there is value in implementing something like that.
Thanks, Andy. I was just gonna say that in 1998, we used to run ads at the time of calling to attract buyers. And they would come into the office and you'd explain what you're gonna do for them, and they would sign a buyer's agency contract. And what the thing that I really liked about it is that they would only sign it if they saw that there was value. You told them what you were gonna do for them, and then they weren't afraid to sign it, and they understood that they were gonna be getting back all these services. And then, of course, from our perspective, you can feel confident knowing that you're gonna be out there, busting your ass with somebody driving to East Sioux, looking at places, because they're gonna actually buy something. So if it becomes mandatory, I'm sure that it won't be the same thing as in 1998, but I think it'll definitely elevate our profession.
Well, I'll say something, I guess, here. Everybody is 100% correct on it. I always bring it back to our members are consumers as well. So these are objections that we handle when we're dealing with buyers and sellers, and they want some reassurance that things are going to go a certain way and to their benefit. A lot of the regulatory authorities, new rules and the progressive rules are coming through are to help bolster up consumer confidence. And I think that was where most of these new rules were derived, is where people are kind of like, what's going on here? So what I believe, and everyone's touched on this one here, is that like education, opportunity, and challenges. And with all these, there are opportunities for us to increase our toolkit to provide better service, to provide higher value, to elevate our profession. And whenever I see these things come up, I think our natural tendency is to go like, oh God, again, another rule. And once I get past that, childlike reaction, I look at it and go, okay, cool, what's the benefit in this? And I think that that's what we're talking about, is going, okay, how do we communicate sentiment from our members about the issues? How do we sort of define what it is and impart some insight from our leadership and come up with something that people can take away and go, okay, how is this going to improve our consumer experience? Which is essentially why this whole entire thing exists. We're satisfying the bidding of the general public. Our job is to serve them. So how do we best serve them? And I believe a lot of the regulatory stuff that's in the pipeline is going to be very beneficial to our professional organization and then directly to the public. And we need to sort of wake up a little bit and don't be so adverse to change. Embrace it, look at the opportunities. And I think that these are great opportunities, and just everyone said the same thing. It's like, right now we have the opportunity to incorporate those into our own process, elevate ourselves. And then our members around us, colleagues, learn about how you're conducting yourself. They can increase that. And then if it is mandatory, we're way ahead of the game. We're like, oh yeah, we already do that. Good deal. Next.
Anybody else?
I think a lot's been said already, so we have to repeat. Okay.
Awesome. That's all I have. I don't know if anybody here has any questions, but I'll close it out by thanking you obviously for taking time out of your day. It's 10:15. I know we've all got stuff that we got to do earn a living, so. I personally appreciate, you guys putting your names forward and you guys coming forward. I know it's a considerable challenge, and then I understand a lot of the challenges that come with the role sitting as a director. So I appreciate all of your efforts, and I applaud you for putting your names forward and putting yourself in the firing line, so to speak. So appreciate it. Thank you for coming, and we'll look forward to tomorrow's vote.
Yeah, okay, thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks a lot.
Take care, guys.